Hey, Jonathan here. I've got a question from Bob Stevens who asks, let's say the why conversation reveals that the client's goal is to 2x revenue, but when asked what revenue is, they say it's confidential. So then how does one extrapolate a cost if you can't put a number to the value? All right, couple of things. Folks, when they first hear about value-based pricing, folks immediately are like, oh, that makes sense. I'll just figure out what the dollar amount of increased sales will be, and then I'll set prices that are like, 10% of that, and then, 2.2x of that and 5x of that, and come up with options for a proposal. But it's never that clean. It's almost never that clean. It depends on what you do. Maybe your sales or you have a direct impact on the bottom line, but it's almost never that clean. It's usually a lot fuzzier than that, which is still fine, but people are not super comfortable with fuzzy. So let's talk about that a little bit. First of all, let's say you do branding, or you do, like me, I would do responsive web design. So somebody would have a desktop site and I would make it work better on mobile. You could do marketing, SEO. There's all the different things you could do, but these are all upstream from sales. Things happen after them that, leads come along. You get the more leads, and then their sales team still has to close the leads. They still have to work the leads. They still have to qualify the leads. They have to talk to prospects. There's all these things that happen after you. So your contribution is the piece that you want to find out what that is worth to the client, not what their ultimate goal is. If everything goes right after you're done, then the goal is to 2x revenue. You're probably not going to personally and single-handedly 2x revenue. So you wouldn't be fair for you to charge like a percentage based on that, because you're actually just one tiny piece of that. So you want to find out, let's say it's responsive web design. You make people's websites work better on mobile phones. In the why conversation, you're going to find out, in the why this questions, you're going to say, well, why bother doing this? Why not do this? Is this having some kind of impact on your bottom line? And they're like, well, we believe it is. We believe that we could make twice as much revenue if the website was finger friendly or mobile friendly. And I would keep pushing back. I would say, well, why? What makes you think that? And they'd say, well, we've started to notice in our analytics that the bounce rate is super high on mobile, or we've got like a 10% conversion rate on desktop, but only 1% on mobile. We believe that we could get that up. Oh, really? So now you're starting to say, okay, they want my goal for me personally that I believe that I can control as what it is that I do, make websites mobile friendly. I believe that I can control the bounce rate on mobile, or maybe even the conversion rate on mobile by working my magic. If I believe that, then I would say, then that's the piece I'm going to price. So let's stick with bounce rate. So let's say their bounce rate is 99% on mobile right now, because the website's completely unusable on the phone. Well, I would basically, what I would want to do through the course of the conversation is find out from the customer how important and improved bounce rate would be, and how much they want to improve it. So if I said, well, what if I told you I could get your bounce rate down to from 99% of people bouncing off the site to only 50% of people bouncing off the site? Would that be a big deal? Oh yeah, that would be amazing. Like, do you think that would have a bottom line impact on sales? They say, well, it might not. They might shop more on mobile, but then actually make the purchase on desktop. But you have the conversation. You have to figure out what's going on in their head to determine how much of a contribution they think your piece of the puzzle matters to the overall project. That's sort of a long way of not answering your question. I think the answer that you wanted to hear was, what's the magic way to find out what the number is? If you could contribute directly to revenue and their goal is to 2x revenue, you can just look around and take a pretty good guess. If they have 100 employees, you can take a guess, like just multiply 100 by what they're probably paying everyone, and they must be making at least that or they'd be going out of business. If they have a fleet of trucks, well, then they're paying a lot of money to maintain the trucks. So you can get an idea within an order of magnitude as to whether this is $1 million business, a $10 million business, a $100 million business. And if they want a 2x revenue, well, 2x that. Doesn't take a lot of, I don't think it's too hard to get close enough to a number that would be useful. Okay, hope that helped. I'm Jonathan Stark. If you have a question for me, hashtag AskJonathan on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Twitter, and we'll find it and add it to the queue. See you next time.